Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to NHP UK TV on a Sunday. Hopefully, Paul will be guesting on again. If not, Pat's going to be coming on. But anyway, I'd just like to say, just give some thoughts. Everyone know it was Lee Rigby's anniversary today, and the Manchester MEN Arena victims anniversary. And I just want people to know that, like, we haven't forgotten. And I'm sure there's plenty of thoughts and prayers with everybody now about that time. I mean, Safi Rose, let's talk names. Safi Rose, the youngest of the victims. Nell Jones, Sorrel Lukowski, Ailey McLeod, Megan Hurley, Olivia Campbell-Hardy, Chloe Rutherford, Liam Curry, Georgina Callender, Courtney Boyle, John Atkinson, Bolton guy. John worked with kids who had not had a good upbringing and stuff like that, or disadvantaged children. Afternoon, Pat. Afternoon, mate.
Good afternoon, John. How you doing?
I'm good. Just let me finish. I was just going through some of the victims' names from the MEN Arena. And I mean, I went to Bolton and did a little video about John Atkinson. Like I said, a guy who spent his time looking after disadvantaged youth. That was John. Martin Hett, Philip Tron, Kelly Brewster, Elaine McIver, Angelina Cliss, Marcin Cliss, Alison Hoare and Lisa Lees, two Oldham girls, really well known. A lot of my friends, my family know these two girls. And I mean, a source of information I had at the very beginning of the MEN Arena attack was, and this come on from a very reliable source, and I've always said this, and I believe it, that a lot of pressure was put on the victims and the families not to start ranting on about Islam or saying about terrorism and stuff like that, which is what the authorities and the government will do to anybody who has in a situation like this. And that came off a reliable source. But, today we have to think about these people. We know what's happened to them is terrible. It should never have happened. These people should never have got away with this. We're going to be going a bit further into one of our policies, but Salman Abidi's family were refugees / asylum seekers who got into our country because of things like the UN 1951 Refugee Convention. They should never have got here. Besides that, these people were already linked to extreme organizations, which obviously they didn't want to know about that. And we'd already rescued Salman Abidi from Libya when he was training to become a terrorist, but still nothing was done. But the very basics of our party would stop this kind of thing ever happening again, because we'd stop it in the first place. Like I said, these people got over on things and policies like the UN 1951 Refugee Convention. So, and this is what we're venomously against, our party, and we want to come out of this European or world agreement as soon as we can. But yeah, so I just wanted to mention that there was Michelle Kiss, Wendy Farewell, and Jane Tweddle. I spoke a lot about the Manchester Arena bombing. I spoke a lot about the victims wherever I go, whatever time. I've been to Bolton, so I go to where where the memorials are and stuff like that, and pay my own respects that way. And obviously, Lee Rigby's anniversary as well. Fusilier killed by 2 Islamic converts who really shouldn't have been in this country in the first place. And everything that's wrong with our system is why he got killed. And, the failures of our government to look after us and stuff like this. But there's my few words. We haven't got Paul on to say a little prayer, but I just wanted to mention them, talk about the victims, what happened, and the failures in our systems, our immigration services that cause a lot of these kind of atrocities. And these aren't the only ones. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of incidents like this across the UK where illegals or failed asylum seekers, whatever, have abused the system and going on to commit crime and killing people. And it's just not on. But Pat, come on, Pat, tell me what we're going to do. What are we going to do about that exit the UN 1951 refugee convention?
Yeah, good to see you, John. Right. So obviously you are 100% correct that if we was not in the United Nations Refugee Convention, Salman, and we did not accept refugees, Salman Abedi would never have come into this country, and he wouldn't have been able to slaughter 20-something of our young children in the Manchester Arena bombing. There's so many incidents, and one case that we was going to highlight today is this Afghan. His name is Mortaza Ahmadi, 39. He went on a crime spree in the West End with a hammer. And he just went around groping women, and if they rejected his advances, he attacked them with a hammer. And this particular individual was an Afghan asylum seeker, and he was deported twice and sneaked back into the country. He's not the only one who's done this. There's been countless. There was the Albanian murderer who got deported twice and sneaked back in again. So it's not just a simple thing of deporting people to solve this problem, because obviously deportation is no deterrent. These are 2 serious criminals who have been unleashed on the British public, the innocent British public who did not vote for this influx of millions of foreigners into our country. And basically, it's not as simple as saying, "Oh, deport them." You hear that a lot. People say, "Deport them, just deport them." They were deported. They were deported and came back 2 or 3 times. And for a start, like you said, our policy is to exit the United Nations Refugee Convention. This will stop them giving an excuse to turn up on our shores and then apply for citizenship. We will end that. We will end that avenue. That is the only way we can solve this problem. That is the number one thing we've got to do. Now, the deterrent, as we've discussed, John, there has to be a deterrent for illegal immigration. So once we've left the United Nations Refugee Convention, but just going back to this guy, Mortaza Ahmadi, 39, he got convicted of attacking 2 people with a hammer, sexually assaulting 2 people in Regent Street. He's just got 18 years, right? And he got deported twice, and he came back, sneaked back in again. So he got 18 years the other day. But if he was given a 3-year jail sentence for illegally entering the first time, well, if we weren't accepting refugees, he probably wouldn't have come in the first place anyway. But just say he did, and we weren't in the United Nations Refugee Convention, and he tried to enter illegally, under our proposals, he would have got a 3-year prison sentence the first time, and he would have known not to come back, because that's what he's going to get again if he gets caught. So you need to have a deterrent, as deportation is not a deterrent, and they need to be kept in prison until they organise their own papers to leave the country, because this is another big problem. They destroy their papers, and the Liberal government of our country are not willing to put these people in prison until they leave the country. That's the problem we've got, and we need to leave the United Nations Human Rights Convention. We need to leave the ECHR, which is the European Court of Human Rights. So 3 of those bodies we need to leave: the United Nations Refugee Convention, United Nations Human Rights Convention, and the European Court of Human Rights. Now, there's a lot of people on GB News who pretend that they want to solve this problem, but the only thing they say is, oh, we need to leave the ECHR, which is the European Court of Human Rights. But that's not going to make any difference, because we're still signed up to the United Nations Refugee Convention and the United Nations Human Rights Convention. So the people like Nigel Farage are just completely hoodwinking the public as usual, pretending he's against all this influx at Dover, but really he's part of the problem, because he continually says that we should accept thousands of refugees every year. And he knows full well they're going to be given council flats before the 1.2 million people on the waiting list in this country now. And I think Nigel Farage is an absolute disgrace, personally. And that's why people have got to get behind our party. We've got the sensible ideas, the sensible proposals to sort this problem out. These people who enter illegally after we've left the Refugee Convention need to be punished. So it puts out a deterrent to the rest of the world not to come here, because at the moment people just turn up. They might get deported, they might not. If they're willing to not give their papers, they end up getting citizenship, because they know our government are not willing to keep them in prison for illegal entry into the country. Over to you, John.
Yeah, well, I mean, the lawyers of all these people who stop these people going and all, they use the ECHR and they use all the other kind of globalist, human rights things to stop these people going through court. So if we come out of these human rights things, then they won't be able to use these to stop people going. When the plane's supposed to go with 30 people, it would have gone with 30 people.
John, can you hear me? You can't hear me?
Yeah, can hear you loud and clear. So with all these ECHR and all these other European human rights acts and things like this, this is what they use to stop people being deported. So come out of all them, then people are going to get deported. Them criminals who've murdered, raped, drug dealers, they'll end up getting deported, which is what we want. But yeah, so there is wider implications to coming out of all these things. It'll make it easier for us to control our borders. We'll have just cause, and we convict people and make them criminals for illegally entering our country. And as soon as we do that, people will stop coming in, because they're using these things against us at the moment. That's why we so have to come out of these organisations. Wouldn't you say, Pat? Not sure if I can hear you there, Pat. No, I think you're breaking up or something. I can't hear you at all now. So yeah, that's our number one policy. As well as end permanent settlement. But people do need to look into these things. I'll put the link up for the UN Refugee Convention. Yeah, I put it up there. And so that allows, we have to treat people and process their asylum things, and we can't treat them as criminals. If we could treat them as criminals, we wouldn't have anybody coming over. There'd be nobody coming over on a boat. You might get the odd lorry person, but I'm sure the boat thing would stop almost immediately. And I mean, we mentioned two incidents, an Albanian and an Afghan. Obviously, you've got little Emily Jones's murderer. She was a failed asylum seeker. The Reading murderer who murdered 3 people in the Reading Park, again, failed asylum seeker and a criminal record. And these people are still in our country, just committing acts of crime. Now, surely, if I was done, if I'd have illegally done something in Britain, I'd have been convicted. You know, if I illegally worked somewhere without being on the books, I would get a conviction. And then I probably wouldn't. If I did that, or, you know, I'd expect that if I did a crime like that, I wouldn't be able to run as a councillor or something like that. But we just let these murderers just live among us. And because of all these acts and rights and European articles is why we cannot get rid of these people. Good afternoon, Arlene. I've seen your comment there. Brighton Cricket Club. So just let me continue. So, I mean, the murder of Lee Rigby also was linked to these guys being made extreme by a particular extremist. And I don't know if people know, but the murderers got less time than Darren Osborne got for running into the mosque and someone dying who was already on his deathbed. But they got less time because their act was against the British government who'd gone to Iraq. You couldn't make these things up. Darren Osborne. Oh, God. Welcome back, Pat. I knew was already on his deathbed. Who am I hearing? No, is that me? They got less time because they're at. Right, it's gone again. So, yeah, and again, the Manchester Arena bombing. Salman Abedi's parents came over as refugees and claimed asylum, and get refugee status. After already being linked to extreme organizations, and obviously the son had been rescued while he was training, and they still left these people in this country. We also, the mum had gone back to Libya and was claiming £200,000 in benefits. And the college and university give these guys money, and he used the money to buy stuff to blow people up. But the thing was, everybody knew what was going on. His own community, people in his own community have reported him to police about saying he's getting really extreme. Yes, English Bulldog. Good evening, sir. Good afternoon, should I say. Pat's not right. Can you hear me, Pat?
Yeah, it's really bad connection, John. I've just heard you there. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah. It is a bad connection. That's mad. That normally pretty good. Your Wi-Fi needs turning on and off. So there'd be a mandatory 3-year prison sentence for illegal entry to the UK. Deportation is no deterrent, as we've shown. A date will be set for all illegals to leave, and we'll get an amnesty from the 3-year sentence on the condition they give their DNA, fingerprints, photo when leaving. Only if they have not committed. Can't hear you properly. Only if they're not committed a serious crime, they can leave the UK and will be banned for life. If caught again illegally entering the UK, will receive a mandatory 3-year sentence. They stay in prison until they organise their own papers to leave the UK. As we already know, the papers are thrown away. Throwing them papers away with no identification, they know that they have to go into the system and be processed, which would mean weeks, months, if not years. If they had the papers on them and our government looked at them, no, you can't come here, you're not a refugee or anything, this, that, and the other. But, these people are clever. They know how to fool the system, and they're fooling the system. Nobody will say anything. Nobody will do anything. We keep hearing of people who are we're going to deport them. We're going to send them to Rwanda. No one's been to Rwanda. So he said that before the elections. I've seen a few Conservatives come up. Yeah, look, they're doing something. Nobody's been sent back yet. Nobody's been sent back. What's going on? You just couldn't make it up. Yes, MI5. It's all right. It'll be fine. So, I'm sorry Paul couldn't make on it, but I just wanted to say my thoughts on, it was a big change in everybody's life and how everybody felt when that MEM bombing went on, especially people in Manchester, because it always brings it close to home. Obviously, it doesn't matter whether the bombing was in Manchester, in London, in Birmingham, in Scotland, then I am going to be the same. I'm going to be angry. I'm going to be wondering what's going on. Doesn't have to be like next door to me for it to happen, for me to realize that there is something going on. And as we see, there's a town now, a town of less than 1,000 people that's expecting over 1,000 people to go into it. And the people are worried in the time. But, I'm worried for my country, me. I'm worried for the UK. That's what I'm worried for. I do worry about my own local things and local issues, but a lot of the stuff that happens to us is linked to us across the country, and we're so divided on my town, this town, instead of our towns and our country. We're so divided on that respect. We're never going to get anything done. We're never going to get anything done. It's only now that people from different towns are getting together better and dealing with stuff and networking and stuff like that. But it's took a long way for us to get to this point. Exactly. The attempted bombing at Liverpool. Another guy who had a very checkered past. We'll go into that. Thank you, MI5. We'll go into that in a sec. So he was claiming he was a Christian and being persecuted. Another lie. Let me just see what else. He arrived in the UK 2014 claimed for asylum as a Syrian refugee, which was denied as officials believed him to be Jordanian rather than Syrian. His immigration status at the time of the incident is unknown. 7 years before the incident, he was sectioned after trying to kill himself and waving a knife in Liverpool city centre. Following this, he converted from Islam. You know, it's just a joke at what these people are doing to us. It's just a joke. It's just a joke. And another prime example, thank you, MI5, prime example of our failed immigration asylum seeking system. And I've said this before, immigration's failed on every level. Immigration has never succeeded. It hasn't. And how do we know this? We've got evidence going back as far as a Windrush that the immigration has failed one way or another. It's failed. The Windrush incident. Why was that a failure? Because they knew what was going to happen. A little thing my dad said when he come over here. One of the first things he did, he sorted out his paperwork and got proper British citizenship. Even though with being Jamaica, he was a citizen of the empire. When he came here, he got his paperwork sorted out properly. Now, when Windrush came, it didn't affect my dad because his paperwork was sorted out, but a lot of people didn't sort the paperwork out. So the failure of the immigration system with the Windrush is what happened just a few years ago when they all got sent back. And I met a girl who's third generation Caribbean, born here, and she had to pay money because her paperwork wasn't right. And many members of her family had to pay money. So that's a failure, if you ask me. And I don't know where there's been any kind of success, really, major success with immigration on how our people work and how our system works. So it needs a big upgrade. It needs a big upgrade, as well as coming out of these conventions we need to upgrade our system here so that we can identify people who've committed crimes, can be sent back, who were ripping off the system as well. These people can be sent back. So we have to come out of all these conventions and European articles and conventions for this to be successful. But anyway, thank you very much for tuning in on a Sunday. I'm sorry we didn't get Paul on. I'm sure he's busy today. But like I said, I wanted to say a few words about these particular incidents, which are close to a lot of people, and people won't forget. And when there became a protest, when there was after the attack, they did a get together and all that lot, right? And they said like community members from all faiths. Well, I'll tell you what, there weren't many Islamic community people there. I'll tell you that right now. This was marked on when we had the remembrance for it a week after or a couple of days. There's hardly any there. There were hundreds and thousands of Muslims on the street. There was none. Why? There's a few different reasons why, but why? But yeah, and that happened. So, it's a big time. Now, just one more thing I want to go into. The link at the description's in the link, but it's And the picture on the screen is the church, and it's St. Mark's Church. It's at top of Waterloo Street in Oldham. I'll just get a better picture of it up. It's on screen now. St. Mark's Church. The road there next to it there is Glodwick Road. And just to the left of the church, the road going down there is Waterloo Street. This was right in the centre of where the riots were in Oldham. And this is the first church that I ever went to. I'm not sure if I was christened in this church, but I had visited this church as a kid because we lived just a couple of 100 yards away from here. It's unfortunately it's practically been abandoned now. We don't have the congregations coming to the churches no more, especially. But this is in the middle of Glodwick, so it's a high ethnic minority Pakistani area. So obviously there's not going to be a lot of Christians going to it. It has also been attacked a couple of times over the years. Arson attacks. There's nobody's been convicted of anything, and it doesn't say that whether it's certain people attacking it. But this happens to a lot of our churches. And I mean, this church, you can see it from practically all around the town centre, and as far as Hartshead Pike, going towards the Ashton under line boundary, this spire can be seen. And I guess to me, it's very much a symbol of Oldham that I've always seen, as well as at the main church. But I've always lived around the area where I could see this church. I don't think the clock works now, but yeah, that's St. Mark's. It's got a nice building next to it. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to look to see what it's being used as at the moment. But nice building next to it there. Should be used for something. But we're going further on. If we get the chance to do with our party, I would spend money on our churches. I would spend money on this church. A lot of people in Oldham, this would have memories for them. This church, the big Christian community that was here before that. We also in this area we had the Ukrainians and Polish as well, and they always respected our churches and things like that. But yeah, so I just wanted to mention St. Mark's. But yeah, so that's my first church. Across the road from there is Glodwick Infants, where I went to when I was in infant, my first primary school or whatever. And then just another few hundred yards up Glodwick Road, you've got there was Alexandra Park Secondary School. It's not there no more, but another school that I went to before we moved into the town centre. So I just thought I'd get up about St. Mark's. So let's have a quick check of its dates. Built around 1870, couple of years to be done. A local architect, John Wild, did that. And John Wild's done a few prominent buildings around Oldham and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's St. Mark's, top of Glodwick Road, top of Waterloo Street, next to Glodwick Road. A church that I can remember from my youth, and I'm 54 years old. So I just thought I'd mention St. Mark's today. Next week, I'm going to be talking a little bit about suffragettes, Lydia Beckham and Annie Kenney. and some suffragette stuff in Oldham. But I mean, everyone looks at the suffragettes as, you know, fighters for voting rights and all that. But unfortunately, if they was around now, they'd be classed as domestic terrorists. They went round burning buildings down and committing acts of violence and blowing people up as well. So, I mean, you know, there's a difference. And I'm not one who believes in that kind of violence to change anything. I don't. I understand there was fighting for women's rights and votes and all that. But yeah, these people were domestic terrorists. Some of them, the majority of them. And their kind of organisation would be banned this day and age. But we'll go through. I'll tell you a bit of history about the two that I'm talking about in Oldham. Oldham seem to think that they should be honouring Annie Kenney, who at the time was born in the Ridings, the West Ridings, which was Leeds, Yorkshire at the time. The boundary changed and it became Oldham, but Oldham Council seemed to think that, like, it's all to do with Oldham and they've got her in it, but it wasn't. She was in the boundary of the West Ridings, which was Yorkshire at the time when she was active, not Oldham. And it's only recently changed to the boundary, and the West Ridings are now in Oldham. But, you know, it's, you know, no harm. There's still a story to say there. Obviously, Councillor Root Shah had her picture next to Annie Kenney, like that she's sort of like some suffragette and trying to like gloss in her image of I mean, at the moment, if Root Shah's image is that she's like just friends with gangsters all over the place, best friends and all that lot, and, you know, stuff like that. But she stood next to Annie Kenney, like, you know, she was the same as Annie Kenney. Well, you're nowhere near the same as Annie Kenney. You live in a suppressed cultural, religious society anyway, and we know that because you got attacked off your own community members for standing up to be a councillor. That's not me, it's this factual stuff. But you have no right to stand next to a British, English, historic person like Annie Kenney, like you're any kind of the same kind of thing. You're nothing like that woman. You're nothing like a suffragette who would actually lay their lives down for their fight. You're not that person. You're not that person. And I'm sure Annie Kenney was never saying politically correct things like the political correct words that I always mention. Sure, she weren't saying anything like that. But this is Oldham, and welcome to the National Housing Party. United Kingdom Sunday TV stream. I've been on another 20 minutes and I'm off. Sorry to Pat, couldn't get back on, but it will be on. We're going to be doing a bit of an up-depth interview with Pat about his election leaflet and his election campaign in the local elections. Mine's ongoing. I want to put a date out to people, the 10th and the 11th of February, to get up to Oldham to help me, knocking on doors and delivering leaflets. So that's 10th and 11th of February. But I'll be doing a post on Facebook. Whoever local, and I'll be sending the message out to local people if people can get up and help me. We've got a year now, and we want to focus on that year. I'll be back on Thursday with some local and national things going on and talking about the party and voting again. It's just bad with violent crime, rape in Royton, near Royton Cricket Club. It says there's a 31-year-old man been arrested, but nothing else. I said this on Thursday. If people think that I won't talk about things like how 2 women can be murdered and not be on the news, then you've got another thing coming. And when I'm a counsellor, I'm still gonna say the same things. I'm still gonna report on the same things. I'm still gonna say the same facts. Obviously, they won't like it, and I'm sure that they're gonna try and suppress me if we ever become a counsellor. But it's up to me to push myself forward, to stand up for myself. I know I'll have other people supporting, but it's going to come from mainly me. And I'm not a easily intimidated person, and I do have good values and good morals. And anybody, even if I have to work with the enemy would be thinking that I am good and I can bring something to the table, and I work hard and stuff like that. And I know it's going to be like that. People might not see it like that, but I know. How do I know? It's because I know my town. That's why I know my town. I know I can feel the beating heart of the Oldham town, me, definitely. I can feel it. I felt it when it's wobbled a bit. I felt it when it's anxious, and I felt the art when it's scared. I felt the art when it's angry. I felt my Oldham heart. I felt all the vibrations it does. I know them, and that's why I'm going to do well. Obviously, our mainstream politicians don't have that kind of vibe with working class people, so they can't feel the heartbeat of the country. You know what I mean? They're just being told off the doctor, right, who isn't even a trained doctor, that heart's racing up and down or doing whatever, and they're not listening. They're unqualified, unaccountable, and not elected people who are running our country. And that's going to change. That's going to change. It's up to us to push for it. I'll start at the bottom, me, local politics, and work up from there. And I mean, I'm already done a first nomination, same with other people who've run before. Nothing wrong. I might be a member of parliament. I could even be the prime minister in the future. Why do I say that? Because I'm doing something about it and standing up to be a councillor, and other people are not voting. Other people are not standing up. Yet you've got something to say against what I do. Honestly, move along. Watch out, because the NHPUK is going to steamroll into politics. Local politics first, and we're going to be pushing proper nationalist values, issues and policies through our party. So, come on, people, get some. This year, I've got a lot coming on this year. So we're definitely going to need some donations. And my bank details are up there. We will have a party bank account soon, and you'll be able to join with a link and things like that. We're going to set all this up over the next few weeks and months. But yeah, get some money. I need some money for leaflets. And you know, why should you give money to me? Because I'm doing something. I'm doing something. That's what. Other people are not doing things. Other people are not getting involved in local politics and trying to help the towns out and all that. They might do so. So I'm worth funding. So I want to see some money, people. And I'm going to be asking on every stream. I don't care what anyone says. The thing is, you get action and you get results out of me. I'm running in local elections. What more can you say? I was part funded with some of my leaflets before. That's gone down on election expenses, been sent in for our big party expenses sheet. But it were only a few quid. But I want money. My bank accounts are my PayPal. Please click on them and send me a few quid, please. Anything will go. I want leaflets. By the 10th and 11th of February, I want some flyers. I want to get some yellow vests with National Housing Party UK on them. So all these need paying for. So get me some money, please, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you very much. So yeah. Sorry, Paul didn't make it. He will do next week. I'm sure he will do. And he will do again. But ongoing. I have my Thursday stream. Paul, you might see Paul on a Thursday. We're going to be concentrating on Pat's campaign election leaflet the next couple of videos. We'll go through it step by step. We'll show you the leaflet. We'll read everything out on it. We'll show you some of the responses that the local community, that came from the local community, good and bad, because I had people phoning me up on his leaflet, agreeing with everything on the leaflet, and people wanting to vote for Pat, and they weren't even English. Let me just tell you that. And you heard off Pat himself that some Muslim voters voted for him, but they can't tell anyone, and they agree with the leaflet, but they can't tell other people, or they get attacked off their own, and the white, hope not hate liberals will start calling them names and bullying them and things like that. And this is what we're up against. You know what I mean? And Pat said that on a stream. So, but thank you very much for tuning in. I'm going now. I've had 50 minutes. I'll catch up with everyone soon. Again, 10th and 11th of February. The Hollingwood area, Limeside, where the MEP tour was. I want people there to help me. Knock on doors, talk to people, and leaflets out, and let's spread the message of the National Housing Party United Kingdom. And let's get voting, and let's get running in local elections. Anybody local in Oldham wants to get involved, give me a shout. I can show you what I've done already. I'm learning about elections, but I'm already I'm already a veteran, door knocker, campaigner, activist, and stuff like that. And I've got a lot of skills, and I'm good at talking with people and stuff. So yeah, get onto it and aid us. Aid John getting his local council seat to start off with. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good Sunday. And don't forget, I know people always don't say, but I know everyone has a thought in the red for Fusilier Lee Rigby and the Manchester 22. I have a special thought in my head for Alison and Lisa, who were from Oldham, who were well known across Oldham town by friends, some of my family, very well-known girls. I didn't know them particularly well, but a lot of my friends, these were good friends with these two girls. So a special mention to them. And thank you very much. And I'll see you on Thursday, if not before.